too. What's up, George? What's up, everybody? How's it going? All right. So basically, this is like a Q&A kind of deal. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Feel free to share this live stream with any of your friends. Awesome, awesome. How do I be you from George Collins? George, be yourself. What's up, guys? How's it going? All right, let's see. What about your practice routine? I found it sometimes difficult to schedule a practice routine. So that's a great question. So basically, the way I work practice is I always practice before I play. That's the most important thing. If you practice after you play, the first thing is you're not actually practicing, because the problem with that is if you play after practicing, all the stuff that you practiced winds up in your playing. Right, so if I practice, I don't know, approaching my major third, right, then when I go to actually play for fun, maybe it'll come out of my playing, right, or at least my brain will be thinking about that. Also, always set yourself smaller times to practice rather than bigger times. But set those small times in a time zone where you have a lot of free time. Now, here's why. If you say, oh, I'm going to practice for 2 hours on Saturday. Well, a lot of people, maybe you're different, but a lot of people will be like, I don't want to do it, and then they won't play at all. But if you say, oh, I'm going to practice for 15 minutes, this concept that I'm really bad at, or for 15 minutes on Sunday, then most likely you'll do it. But the reality is you probably get sucked into it, and then you'll end up doing it for an hour. You know, so it's kind of like tricking your brain into doing stuff. What do I practice? I practice a lot of phrasing, right? So I spend a lot of time working on how I get between one chord to the next chord, right? So you know what I mean? So like, for example, going between 1, 4, and 4 minor. To 2. To 5, to 4, to 1, to 6, to 2, so that's kind of what I spend a lot of my time on, which is mostly approaching the third. It's all stuff that I cover in my lessons with my students. Yeah. Ooh, let's see what you said there. All right. I've never heard of that book. Honestly, I think the best way to go is, books are good for, like, I wouldn't say you could learn, I don't think there's one book that covers everything you need to know musically. I think it's more like you may pick and take 1 or 2 things from a book. I think you'll learn the most from listening and having a teacher. I think those are the places you'll learn the most from. This is my first ever YouTube live stream. I've never done this before. Also, it's my sister's birthday, hence the balloons in the background. I just came home for the weekend, or actually for a couple weeks, really, because I live at my college. I go to Berkeley. So now I'm home. So do you guys have any more questions? For rates, as far as my online private lessons go, just shoot me an email. My email is actually in the description of my most recent video. So if you want to go check out that recent video and snag my email, you can. I think there's also other ways of getting to me through YouTube, but yeah, I'll send you the rates. Bend with vibrato is my ultimate goal. How can I work on that? The first step is making sure you can actually bend with confidence. All right, a lot of people can get there, but what I hear a lot of is, and then the note kind of goes flat because their fingers are not strong enough yet. So pick a string, let's say we pick, the note G on the B string, right? And we want to bend up to the A, right? All right, so what you do is you play the A, and then you work on and getting to that note A, right? So you use the A note as your reference, and you bend up to it. When you bend up to it, hold the note for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You should be able to hold it for 5 seconds without a problem. So it's kind of practice. All right, go back and forth doing that. And then also what you want to do is keep referencing it and try doing what we call pre-bends, which is where you bend the note without playing it, and then you play the note once you bent it. So you're not finding it that way. You're actually bending, playing it, and seeing how accurate you can get it. Right? Once you get that, once your hand is strong enough to do those things, then you can work on the vibrato. Now in the video, my most recent video, I talk about holding and shaking the note, right? While your hand is kind of glued right there, right? So with this kind of vibrato, it's kind of the same story. See where my thumb's placed? It's placed over the like knuckle right there on my index finger. Best place to practice is like half step bends on the G string, or like half step bends anywhere, and then you can work up from there. There we go. All right, I just turned on live chat so I can see all of your messages. Yeah, of course. Nice. How can I improve my feel of time playing? Practice with a metronome. Find a bunch of lead sheets and play songs. For example, like, I don't know, if you had like Charlie Parker lead sheets or something, follow along. Be able to hear. A big part of it's being able to hear the changes go by. So you know, do some chord identification stuff. All stuff that I can help you out with. If you're interested in private lessons, just find that email in my recent video, and I'll see if I have some space. Ah, man. Hey, how's it going? All right, let's see. I think you play thinking about intervals, but how many scales do you usually use? I mean, is it really useful to study super Locrian scale? And then if you don't know, exactly. That's a great question to ask. So I do think intervals when I play. I think of using the pentatonic scale as kind of my base or my foundation, and then I add intervals to it. All right. So for example, like if I'm playing minor pentatonic, well, if I want to play like something A major based, I actually use the minor pentatonic as my bass still. But I think about my major triad. So my major triad runs straight through all of that, of course. So when I play, you get this major sound, right? Now, if I wanted to play the flat third, it's obviously in the scale, but don't worry about it, right? Knowing all your modes is very important because they all give you different tonalities. Knowing something like super Locrian is only useful if you play chords that super Locrian can actually be applied to, right? So these scales usually, and this is kind of how people get to learning other scales. And then I feel like this will help make sense why these scales exist. So, for example, there's a scale called harmonic major, okay? So you're probably thinking like, what the fuck is that, right? Well, here's how it works, okay? So I've been playing that scale for ages, and I never knew what it was called. Here's why. I like to do this in my blues all the time. This is what I like to outline. 1 major, when I go to 4, I like to go to 4 minor after, back to 1. All right, the reason why I do that is because usually it just goes 4 to 1, but I secretly put that 4 minor in there just for a little bit of added tension. But the band doesn't play it, only I play it. I mean, I play it in my solo, so it's how it is. Right, that's kind of how I use it, okay? Now, so for ages, I've just been playing like a lot of this kind of stuff. Okay, because that is the note, the flat third from that 4 minor chord. That's all it does. It just takes the major scale, which you're basically using over a dominant chord, plus there's a flat 7, right? And I'm just adding a flat 6 to it. That's it. And then somebody was like, hey, you know that's double harmonic, or you know that's harmonic major, right? And I was like, oh, no, I didn't, right? So super Locrian only exists because somebody was putting together a combination of chords or a chord, right? And they took a scale that was closest to it and they edited 1 or 2 intervals in the scale, and then they got a scale that worked nicely over that chord. That's why scales exist. They're just literally all the notes you can play over a chord or a chord progression. So learn all of your modes because most of Western music reflects all of those, right? Locrian, obviously the least. We see Locrian the most in jazz, for example. How can you practice blues phrasing? How do you make sense of it? Great question. So transcribe as much blues phrasing as you possibly can. Transcribing is the act of listening and then learning, right? So you hear someone play something like this. You don't know what it is. And then you use your ears to figure it out. So you're like, okay, it sounds like that, sounds like that, sounds like that, and sounds like that. Now, obviously, it's going to take a longer time than that. But as you go on, your ears get better. Time is extremely important for blues phrasing. That's another thing, work on time. I'm going to probably put out a bunch of videos soon. I may do some paid video packages that are like fully blown out videos on a lot of lessons like this. Because I do teach private lessons on this and I do have space available, but I also have quite a hefty waiting list for lessons. So I might start doing some website stuff. So stay tuned for that. All right. That's going to be hopefully my summer project, is putting up lesson videos on the internet. But yeah, work on time. Okay. So really nail down your time. Listen to a bunch of blues artists. Listen for the simple phrasing, not the complicated phrasing. Go and listen to a bunch of B.B. King and where it all came from, right? That'll help a lot, all right? All right, guys, I'm gonna peace, but thank you for coming on.